I'm Ric Edelman. In today's huge push to create a green economy, can you create some green for yourself? And if you live a healthier lifestyle than other people, can you prove it? And should it reduce your healthcare costs? Also, can a 45-year-old afford to retire on just a military pension? And is that even a good idea? As Jack Nicholson might say, maybe you can't handle the truth. Unless, of course, it's the truth about money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman. I think just about all of us want to do our part to clean up the planet. But is there a way to make a buck while doing it? Could green energy mean more green in your bank account? My answer is just dollars and cents.
It would seem to me that converting the United States to green energy would just do phenomenal things to grow jobs, to grow the economy. And my question is, wouldn't you agree with that?
Completely. There is no question that we are going to have to move away from our current dependency on oil and gas and the traditional sources of energy. There is no question that we are, in fact, moving away from them. The next 20 years are going to be astonishing thanks to technological innovation that is fast approaching. And the most powerful of all of these alternative energy solutions is solar. It is the most abundant, it is the most permanent, and ultimately, it will prove to be the cheapest. As this occurs, all those benefits that you've described are going to happen. Dramatically lower cost of providing energy to the planet, dramatic increase in employment, but there's also going to be disruption. Right now, the largest corporation on the planet is Exxon. What happens when ExxonMobil is no longer as important as it is today? How many hundreds of thousands of workers might get displaced? Not just from Exxon, but all the oil companies, as well as those involved in coal and gas and nuclear and so on. So while it's very exciting that the new technologies are going to create a lot of jobs, they're also going to create a lot of displacement from people who are in occupations that will no longer be necessary, that will in fact become obsolete. So we know where we are, we know where we're going. The future is going to be very exciting, but it's going to be a bit disruptive as we attempt to get there. We go coast to coast to ask just one question, Celebrity Edition. What's the best financial advice you've ever given?
Pay yourself first, so do automatic savings, I call it speed savings in my book. So take out at least 10% of your allowance, put it immediately in your piggy bank. It's off limits, you can't spend it. That's going to be what your savings is going to be. And I recommend putting it in a glass container, a clear container, so they can actually see their money grow. And then take it to the bank. After you've accumulated a bit, take it to the bank and put it in the bank account. Unfortunately, with your 0.005% interest rate right now, but it's still safer there. You get a little bit of interest.
Leave it alone and let the expert handle it. Diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I'm told by people who know a lot more than I do, stocks and bonds, and stocks and bonds. And I have no interest in investing in gold. Other people do. But just diversify. Don't have it all in one place.
Most people dream of the day they can retire. Maybe you want to travel or play golf. As a financial planner, my goal is to help my clients afford to live out their dreams. Military personnel often have retirement options many of us don't. I recently had the honor of tackling many retirement issues with the troops and their families at the Army's Fort Belvoir in Virginia.
My husband, he wants to retire right out at 45 and just live off of his military pension.
And is that realistic? Will he, in fact, be able to retire at 45 and live a 50-year retirement?
He keeps blaming his smoking will cut him down 10 or 15 years, but...
Oh, so he's following the ultimate estate plan of how do you avoid the cost of living too long? Die. Yeah,
I would probably help him that if he starts taking from my savings. No, just joking. Just joking. Don't take me to court on that one.
We do have you on video.
So
here's what it comes down to. I would argue that he is not going to enter a 50-year retirement, not because he can't afford to, but because he will be bored. Retirement, as we understand it, is a 20th century invention. Retirement did not exist prior to the 20th century. Prior to the 20th century, if you were alive, you worked because you had to shoot or grow your food. And you needed to work to support yourself and your family. And only with the affluence of the Industrial Revolution did we enter the notion of a retirement. That notion is antiquated. We're now in the 21st century. And the notion now that you're going to live a 30 or 40-year period without gainful activity is simply inaccurate. You'll discover that golf gets boring after a while. Gardening, well, they call it landscape design. It's really expensive. And you're going to discover that you're going to want to contribute. You're going to want to give back. Now, whether you earn money doing that is a totally separate question. You may get involved in philanthropic activities, community service, charitable events. You may get re-involved in retired veterans and military organizations. The point is he's going to find something, and chances are that something is going to involve earning money, simply because that's the way our society works. And that's good news, too, because he doesn't have to earn a whole lot of money. An extra 10 or 15 grand a year really stretches things out wonderfully. So it's good news in that regard.
And then my father has been asking me to do drip investments, so he's just a little bit nervous, but I'm ready to make that move, too. So
let me elaborate for the rest of you what a drip savings program is. A drip savings program is a dividend reinvestment plan. This program got popular in the 1960s and 70s. It's rather antiquated today and not terribly commonly used. Basically, a drip savings program says you're going to buy shares of a stock. The stock is going to pay dividends. You're going to take the dividends, and you're going to use the dividends to buy more shares. So you're going to add money by buying more shares. You're going to use the dividends and use them to buy more shares. And pretty soon, you have a whole bunch of shares. And as the shares grow in value, you create wealth that way. It's a very successful program, but it's a little antiquated today. And what is instead done, rather than a drip savings program, is the advent of the mutual fund or exchange-traded fund. Instead of buying individual stocks, which is how the drip concept works, you now buy baskets of stocks because the drip program had one problem. You were buying individual stocks. And if that individual stock went broke, it didn't matter how many of them you bought. I mean, if you were dripping into Enron, the fact that you were diligently saving didn't do you a lot of good. So to get away from the risk of picking the wrong stock, enter the world of a mutual fund, which is a basket of stocks. Instead of putting your money into a stock, you put your money into a mutual fund that takes your money and buys hundreds, even thousands of stocks. Now, if one of them happens to be Enron, so what? It's 1 out of 1,000, and it's not going to harm you financially. And it becomes very easy to do because a mutual fund looks and acts like a bank account in the sense of how you can make deposits. Investing a certain amount of money at a regular interval. If you do those two simple things, invest 25 bucks a month, invest 50 bucks a paycheck, invest $5,000 a year into your IRA. It doesn't matter the dollar amount, and it doesn't matter the frequency. Just do it on a consistent basis. And if you do 25 bucks a month, every month, for 30 years, you will be amazed at how much wealth gets created.
A bank CD is pretty much the same as A, a stock, B, a bond, C, neither, or D, both? We'll be right back with the answer.
Do you hit the gym regularly? Do you watch what you eat? If you could instantly see the benefits of a healthier lifestyle, would it change the way you live? Would it change the way your doctor treats you? Dr. Daniel Kraft says the truth is already out there. Dan, there's no question when we talk about technology, healthcare, medicine is at the forefront of that. We spend trillions of dollars in our economy, just in the United States alone, on an annual basis. Is technology going to not merely cure people, but is it going to dramatically reduce the cost of curing people?
You know, we spend 80% of our healthcare dollar on the 20% of the population that's sickest or keeps going in and out of hospital or with chronic disease. And the incentives, which used to be, fee-for-service and reimbursement-based medicine, are starting to turn back to evidence-based medicine.
Well, what do you mean by evidence-based healthcare?
It means most physicians, including myself, are biased by where we train. I trained at Mass General and at Stanford. I know the papers I read and the people I train with, but I may not know the most up-to-date studies or evidence-based from the CDC, so I'm biased. So the opportunity, by leveraging technologies even like artificial intelligence, to help augment our knowledge and our skill sets can dramatically, I think, improve what's today sort of one-size-fits-all medicine to much more personalized and individualized care. It's not necessarily a solution by itself. It has to be integrated into the complex healthcare systems that we have. But definitely the ability now to measure things at home, low-cost diagnostics, wearable devices, low-cost genomics have a dramatic opportunity as a technology base to understand ourselves, our healthcare system, and to improve prevention, diagnosis, and therapy.
And part of grabbing data about your individual patients, if you're willing to wear a bracelet that allows us to monitor what you eat and how much you exercise, then we may lower your insurance costs for health insurance as well?
Well, we're now in this era of sort of the empowered patient, and I think the patient is taking more of the risk individually of your own healthcare, as you should. If I can show that I'm doing 10,000 steps a day, I'm checking into the gym and not into a fast food restaurant, if I'm doing my part to show that I've maybe quit smoking or improved my diet and exercise, and I'm lowering my risk profile, I think the incentives are then aligned for the insurance companies to bill you less. So I think that same example from the car insurance world should start to translate to the healthcare world. Now I can track my steps and sync this with my mobile device and share my food habits on this as well with a network of friends or colleagues. That can sort of incentivize me to stay on track, and I can encourage my friends and colleagues to do the same thing. Or it could be competitive. There could be points or badges, and adding the gamification elements that I can track with your devices. So when you know that Dr. Kraft's going to get a dashboard of your exercise, you may stay more on top of that.
Because isn't that really the problem that physicians are always complaining about, that patients don't do what they're being told to do?
Sure. And now in this sort of app era, I can prescribe you an app. If you're a newly pregnant woman, you can have an app, one that's called Knocked Up, and it can help track you through your entire pregnancy and make suggestions and look at your feedback and optimize the pregnancy route. Or if you had hip surgery, there's one called Knocked Down. And again, that creates a back and forth between the clinician and the healthcare system to help you stay on top of both your medications, your physical therapy.
So it sounds like the medical world is moving more towards a preventive environment than its historic curative mode.
Right. So again, most physicians are incentivized for sick care, not health care, to bill for the biopsy, the procedure, the bypass. As physicians now, if I'm a primary care physician and I have 1,000 patients, and I get a bonus at the end of the year for having good blood pressure control under most of my patients and good blood sugar levels under my diabetics, and I'm rewarded for that as opposed to just seeing a patient every 12 minutes, we can align technology to make that happen.
How soon?
Well, it's happening now. And I think some of the new technologies that are exploding, low-cost genomics, you can now spit in a tube, drop it in the mail, and get your personal genetics back, and potentially start sharing that with your clinician to optimize your prevention and your care. That's all here.
And what's the downside of this? Could it be that we will start to get selective of saying you're living in a neighborhood where there's a particularly high rate of incidence of crime or health concerns, or you're living a lifestyle that has you predisposed to developing some illness or disease, and we're going to charge you more for insurance or deny you coverage entirely?
I think like any technology, from molecular biology to genomics, there's a dark side and a light side. Now these new connected, even pacemakers have IP addresses and have their own apps and could potentially be hacked. Imagine you get a text if you have a defibrillator, go to the bank and take out $400, I'm turning off your pacemaker, or I'm going to tweak your insulin pump. So there are concerns, but On the plus side, by sharing with your physician and your family members the right information so that the right prevention and tools are pushed to you as opposed to, again, the same standard colonoscopy at age 50. Maybe you need one at age 40, or maybe you can avoid certain drugs and preventions. And we can start to optimize those tools with the right privacy elements in play to make it useful and to lower costs and improve outcomes.
Dan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great to be here. Thank you.
A bank CD is pretty much the same as a stock, a bond, neither or both. The answer is C, neither.
Another type of bond is the bond of holy matrimony. And part of that vow is in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer. So which is it going to be? Do you know how financially healthy your future spouse is? Maybe you'd better ask before you say, I do. Let's head off to Frank. He's in fact, Fairfax, Virginia.
I have the Gordian knot for you guys to try to untie. I have a nephew who's graduating, and he has a job at $62K, but he also has $60K of student debt. He is going to get married. His wife is graduating. She has $60,000 or $70,000 in student debt, but no job perspective for her at this point in time. If you're sitting down with them, what are you going to tell them about reducing that debt, buying a house, renting, starting a family?
Yeah.
How can you make that fun?
How can we make that fun? There are some things that just aren't an awful lot of fun, but here's the only fun part element of it. They are recognizing their financial situation up front. They're willing to discuss it, disclose it, and figure out a solution to it, as opposed to acting obliviously to it. So I'm glad that your nephew and his bride-to-be are openly discussing their financial situation. That is step number one.
Yeah, but when you've got a debt of this size, I think they have to accept that it's going to be a major commitment for them for an awful long time. But if you can spread that out over the maximum number of years, hopefully get a very low interest rate, the payment might be on $60,000 of debt, $250 a month, $350 a month, and they have to understand that's going to be there, and then make all the other decisions regarding their goals and situations, knowing that they're going to have that debt payment.
They need to focus on her getting a job right away. They need to forget about immediate plans of buying a house, and they need to sit down with a financial advisor who can meet with them and develop a game plan for helping them achieve their goals of getting rid of the student loan debt, buying a house, and enjoying the life that they have worked so hard to build so far. We're going to take another telephone call. We're heading out to New York City. We got Izzy on the phone. Welcome to the program, Izzy.
My question is now, with all the situation, all the talk about the bonds that are going to go, the value going to go down. Now, do I rebalance into my bonds or avoiding it?
Oh, that's a really great question, because we've been talking about, not just on this program, but for months now, our fears, our worries that interest rates are right now very low, and we're worried that interest rates will eventually get higher. The Federal Reserve has made it clear that they expect to keep interest rates low at least through 2015, but they also say that if inflation begins to get higher, they will raise interest rates if necessary. So the question is not so much if interest rates will rise, but rather what happens when they do rise. The simple answer is this. Interest rates and bond prices are linked. When one goes up, the other goes down. It's that simple. It's like a seesaw. On one end, it's the opposite of the other end. One rises, the other falls. And this is mathematical fact. It's not predictive. So if interest rates go up, the value of bonds, Brandon, goes
down. But they don't all behave the same. So a bond that matures in a short period of time, say 6 months or 2 years, the impact of the fall on that bond is less than a bond that matures, say, in 5, 7, or 10 years. So as we're constructing our client portfolios, we're being careful to analyze the bonds that we own, and we're really shying away from bonds that mature over really longer periods of time.
And that's really the key to understand there, Izzy. We're not saying don't buy bonds, because if you don't buy bonds, what's left to buy?
Stocks.
And if you have 100% of your money into stocks, well, look at the risk of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we aren't saying don't buy bonds. What we're saying is don't buy long-term bonds, because those are the ones, as Brandon pointed out, that will suffer the most when interest rates rise. So we're recommending for our clients and providing for them short-term and intermediate-term bonds, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, maybe some 7-year paper, very, very little of a long-term nature. That way, you are reducing your risk to rising interest rates, and we believe it's a more prudent, appropriate way to go. Here's the interesting thing, though. If rates continue to stay low for another 2 or 3 years, as the Fed claims is going to happen, you could argue, well, why bother worrying about it today? It's real simple. We can't be sure how long rates will stay low, and if you wait until after they start to rise, you'll already start to incur losses. So we're acting early because it's safer and a more prudent, appropriate way to approach it. As a financial advisor, I believe managing money is no laughing matter, but comics at New York's Dangerfield's Comedy Club have a different take on personal finance.
Went to visit my mom today. She gave me $20. Yeah, I was so excited. Went right to the bank, opened up a Roth IRA. If all goes according to plan, I should be able to retire by the time I'm 400. I love doing this, man. This is like a great job. This is like one of the few places in the United States of America where you could still say whatever the hell you want. Like, I could tell the truth from my perspective. Like, if you think about it, there's a lot of younger people here, man. I'll tell you, life is hard, man. I'm 39 now, and some of you guys are in your 20s, man. Life gets harder. It gets more expensive. People start dying. And then one day, you wake up, and there is no one left to give you money.
If you could ask a financial planner just one question, what would it be? Here's one a lot of folks ask. What is the biggest mistake that people make involving children and money?
The biggest mistake that we see is parents not properly preparing their kids for the real world. Kids very rarely get this kind of information in schools. It's basically not taught. There's much to know before a child goes out into the big bad world in terms of dealing with credit cards and credit card debt, in terms of being able to balance a checking account, in terms of how much is enough money to have on hand as a cash reserve, et cetera, et cetera.
Parents need to stop equating money and love. They need to teach discipline with money and how to save from a very young age and live within your means. Because what is retirement planning? Retirement's saving for down the road. It's for delaying what you have now for your future. And if you don't teach a child that, how can you learn that as an adult? It's much more difficult.
We all need to know how to handle money in order to live financially stable and satisfying lives, but what is money? My wife and business partner, Jean, has a perspective you may not have thought of in The Other Side of Money.
The other side of money is an opportunity to look at how we're living our lives. Money is a tool. It's a tool to be used. It's not something that we need to obsess about, but we seem to obsess about it. So if we can take that focus away from the dollar and look better at our lives and what is making us happy, that's the other side of money. That's taking the time just to look inward and find that happiness and find that joy. We do have a tendency to focus too much on the accumulation of money. And once we've accumulated it, what is it that's actually going to make us happy? Where's the joy? Where's that inner joy in the journey of the accumulation of all those dollars? You know, you can have all the stuff, but you're still not happy. So let's look at the little things in life. Let's look at, you know, sitting down and having a cup of tea with a friend or taking a walk on a beautiful day. That's what the other side of money is about. How do we enjoy that journey? How do we not get so sucked up in the process of accumulating those dollars? Can we enjoy the journey? Can we, you know, embrace our lives and just have fun?
Thanks, Jean. You sure helped me remember what's important in life. When I get home, we'll take the dogs out for a walk. A few other thoughts about what we've discussed. Green energy and better living could be healthier for us and healthier for our wallets. And just because you can retire at 45 doesn't necessarily mean you really, really want to or should. Just something to consider. And that is The Truth About Money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com. And stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.